Hey guys, and welcome back. So last week we saw the Minix Z64 Android version, and today we are going to take a look at the Minix Z64 Windows 8.1 version. Now the approach will be a little bit different of we have been doing with Android devices. We will take a quick look at benchmarks and then productivity, after that some gaming, and finally entertainment. So hopefully this will give you an idea how the device works. And by the way, if you already saw the Android version, just skip the 2.5 minutes so you don't waste time. Now I'll see you in a few minutes for the conclusion. So looking at the front of the packaging, we will see that this is the Z64 Windows 8.1 version. And at the back we will find some more detailed specifications about this device, but we will cover them during the video, so let's not waste your time here. On one of the sides we will find some highlights, being the 32GB of the fastest eMMC 5.0 storage, 2GB of RAM, Wi-Fi N, and of course the Intel Z3735F 64-bit CPU. While on the other side we will have featured the maximum resolution, which is Full HD 1080p, XBMC Windows 8.1, and of course the GPU Intel HD graphics. Lastly we will find the contents of the package, but for that we're gonna do the unboxing right now. And here we are. So as usual, just peel that plastic off, and there we go, unboxing done as fast as possible. Once we take the cover off, we will find some documentation, being one the product brochure from Minix lineup and the other one the user manual. But the user manual, I think that you will not be reading, as these devices are very easy to set up. And after that we can take the most important part of this packaging, which is the Minix new Z64. And now we can lift that bottom cover and check out all the accessories that come with this device. A HDMI cable, and also a power adapter, which in this case is for European Union, so if you live somewhere else in the world with a different socket, just order the right version. At the front we will find that IR receiver and the very dim blue light as we saw on the Android version, but under Windows operating system the IR receiver will not work. On the left side, as you can see, the only thing that we will find is that non-detachable antenna, which you can rotate it 180 degrees. While on the right side we will find two USB 2.0 ports, one micro SD slot, and a really nice power button. And at the back we will find the rest of the ports necessary to connect this device, being the power jack Ethernet, which is not Gigabyte, but we will check on real world performance if that makes a difference or not, HDMI, and finally a very well located audio output. And now to wrap up this part of the overview, here's a close-up of the top of the device, which features that Minix logo, and also at the bottom we'll find 4 really nice rubberized feet, which will help to keep this device in place. Being a machine that can be used in several ways, the first setup that I did, as you can see on screen, it is as a desktop, so I put it on a spare desk and placed one mouse and a keyboard, which by the way does not come included. And now the time has come to turn on the machine and see how it will work. Now the first thing that you will find, as you can see on screen, it is that Windows 8.1 setup guide, which all you have to do is follow the steps, and in no time you will have your machine working. And once we have everything set up on the device, we will be left, as you can see on screen, with roughly 21GB of free storage, so depending on your needs, you might ponder to add a microSD or a USB drive to the device. And now let's boot this machine up and see how fast it is since you press the button until you enter the screen. One thing to mention is, instead of making the test while the drive was empty, no, I did install all the apps that I thought necessary for all the benchmarks that I was going to do, and then I did run this. So I was with only 2GB of free storage at this moment in time. If you boot the machine with the drive empty, you will take roughly half the time that we took here. And now let's go for the benchmarks, and the first one on the line was GeekBench 3. Now on single core score 775 and on multi-core score 2185, which is not a surprise as we saw almost the same results on the Android version, so this is great scores for this type of machine, but we will see later on what I mean. Second benchmark was ChristalMark, so we can evaluate the speed of the hard drive, and we got a sequential read and write of 164 and 45 megabytes. Next we tested the 3DMark tool, and in here we are evaluating the Ice Storm benchmark, which will tell us how this device will work, especially on mobile game type. And in here we got a 14,000 score, which is great. And just a curiosity, it featured as the i7-4960, which I wish it was true, but it's not, just a mistake. The GPU was correct, only the CPU was mistaken on this benchmark. And now to finish up the benchmarks, I also run Unigine Valley, which instead of mobile gaming, we will be testing desktop gaming. Especially because I was getting a lot of questions about desktop gaming on this machine. But come on guys, this is an Intel HD graphics, not a full-fledged gaming PC. So we cannot expect a great performance on the GPU for desktop gaming. By the reads of these benchmarks, this tell me that this machine will perform great on mobile gaming, but on desktop gaming, forget about it. Nonetheless, I will perform the test at the end of the video. And now let's go for the real world performance, and for that I started with the browsing experience. I used Firefox and Chrome just because these are my favorite browsers, and as you can see on screen, all the pages render really fast and nicely. No problems at all, no lags, no freezes, so the experience is great. Even when you are playing videos, as you can see on screen, 1080p, everything works flawless. And now let's go for the productivity, and for that we are going to use the Office suite, starting with Word. Did you saw the speed that this app loads, and this and all the other apps? So as we've seen on the first benchmark, we tested the speed of the XBMC included in this machine and just works flawless. The same is the experience inside the Office suite, in this case Word, works great. Regardless to say that the experience under Excel was great as well, so no surprises here, but nonetheless I would like to share with you on screen the kind of performance that you can expect from a device like this in case you are interested in a machine for office productivity. And now once again, PowerPoint was no problem at all for this device. Now as you can see on screen, it works just as great as it did with the previous apps. And the last app that we tried under Office suite was Publisher. That sometimes can be a little bit more heavy, but this machine worked great as well for the experiences that I made. So if at this point you are wondering if you can replace that big box that you have on your office and replace with the machine like this for your browsing, internet and Office suite, yeah, this is a great machine for that. And now let's step up a little bit further and make it a little bit more interesting. Now, as you can see on screen, by now it's loading Photoshop Creative Cloud. And for a machine like this, I was surprised how fast it loaded. And for all the tests that I made under this app, what I can tell you and share with you right now is that if you are a designer creating project with 100 layers and a lot of filters, then this is definitely not a device for you. But on the other hand, if you need from time to time to work on a template, on a mockup and create your business cards for your company, then this device is capable of making all that tasks. What I felt was it was very responsive and totally worked great for this type of simple work. And now let's go for the gaming part of this video, and in here I'm not gonna waste much of your time. What I did was 5 tests on mobile gaming, being 2 of them the most demanding, which were Beach Buggy and Asphalt 8 Airborne, and right out of the bat everything run flawless. I wasn't expecting anything else. After trying the Z64 Android version, the results were the same on the Windows operating system. So if you are looking for a machine that is capable of that work capability that we saw previously, and also some casual gaming, especially those type of mobile games, then this is the right machine for you. Now, on the other hand, if you are looking for a machine that is capable of desktop gaming, as we can see on screen, the F1 2014, then most definitely this is not the machine for you. Now, this was not a surprise for me, to be honest, because it has the Intel HD graphics, and any computer with an integrated GPU will not be able to perform as good as we want, so we will need dedicated GPU. I didn't measure the frames per second, but I can tell you that the experience, and probably from the screen you can see, the experience was really bad. I was surprised that it could even run, and it runs, but at the lowest settings that I was playing, really bad performance. So don't expect to play games, at least the desktop games, on this. Now, on the other hand, there might be some very old games that you could work them out here, but once again, this is not the machine that I would suggest for gaming. Now, being a machine with Windows OS, it's, in my opinion, of course, a more versatile machine. So once I finish up the tests on the office, I took it to the living room, as you can see on screen. And before I forget, the remote that's being used right now, it's not included in this package. This is the Minix new M1 Hair mouse, which is great if you want to use this machine as a multimedia computer. And now let's get back to the topic, which is media streaming and video playback. And for that, I'm using, as usual, my favorite app, which is KODI. And in here, this is the KODI version that I downloaded, the latest stable version. Works everything as it did on the Z64 Android version. So if you want a little bit more details, just check the link below and you will find the video review that I did. But in a short way, I will have to mention that everything works great, no problems at all, even when you fast forward. Not only on 1080p, but also in 4K playback. Although this machine doesn't have 4K output natively, it plays back real nice and real smooth, as you can see the 4K files. Now, as I mentioned before, Windows gives us a little bit more freedom, and although I don't usually use Plex, I wanted to see how this device will perform, especially on the server side of things, that sometimes on transcoding tasks it can be a bit demanding. And as you can see by now on screen, I did set up a Plex server with some of my files and also some MKV 1080p Blu-ray files, which we will test and see how it works. So to start up the tests, the first setup was the device Minix Z64 as a server and at the same time as a player, so we could see how it would perform. And by now you can see on screen that it works flawless. And in here, if I compare it with the KODI application, which is what I use the most of the time, I do notice a little bit of delaying on the fast forward. As you probably can see on screen, there is a millisecond probably of delay, which is the buffering. KODI is much more responsive on that. Nonetheless, regarding the video playback, you can play it flawless with no problems at all. One thing I would like to mention here is I couldn't get out the audio output from the HDMI. I did had to connect it directly through the audio output that we have available on the back of the device. And obviously, as usual, I couldn't resist the temptation, so I did play back that sample from the Panasonic Lumix GH4, which is a 4K file, as you can see on all my tests and on all my reviews. And once again, Z64 did not let us down. It played flawless. One reminder again, this device does not have 4K native output, but on KODI and now both on Plex, it works right out of the box with a perfect playback on this type of videos. Now for the second part of the testings, I was thinking I have a smart TV, at least I think it is smart, so why don't I try and connect it to the network, as it would be on the office, for example, and we could watch Plex on the TV without having the computer or the device, as you want to call it, right next to the TV. And the result was not as pleasing as it was using the Minix Z64 directly, just because, as I mentioned, my smart TV is not as smart as I thought she was. And before you ask me, yes, I did troubleshoot, and I installed on my i7 4770K with 32 gigabytes of RAM, which I think it's enough with SSD and all that sort of things, and the result was the same. So as you can see on screen, it takes a lot longer to load, and the experience is not as fast as directly with the Z64. But once the video started, everything worked flawless, so no problems at all. If you leave the video playback, no problems. Once you press fast forward, then there is another waiting for that buffering, as you can see on screen, which is not good. I don't like this type of experience. So, but this is not, and I want to mention this again, not a Minix problem, because my computer, my workstation did exactly the same. So this is a problem with the TV. The hardware is not capable enough to play Plex flawless. And before I forget, I would like to share with you this screen here so you can see how powerful this little machine is, especially on the CPU side of things. Now, we are running Plex Server and Plex Player on the same machine, Minix Z64 Windows version, and as you can see here, the CPU usage is very low, even though we know that Plex is a bit demanding, especially on transcoding. At this moment, we are watching a MOV coded with H.264, but even the tests that I made with 1080p MKV Blu-ray files, the CPU usage was a little bit above, so great performance on this CPU. And now before we go to the conclusion of this video, I would like to share with you something that regards the Windows 8.1 license. When you get this device, you get the right to a full license copy of Windows 8.1, which is transferable with the device, not with a person. So if you sell this device, the license will go with the device and will not stay with you. This just mentioned that one of the worries that you might wonder is, hey Robert, what if I fill up my computer and one day I want to format it? Does Minix include a CD, a USB pen with the OS, or how do I do? So as you can see on screen, what I'm doing right now is, after I installed everything and test out the machine, I did a reset so we could get this computer as clean as it was on the day that we got it. And after getting all the tests, this is something, by the way, that took roughly 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And after we do this, we will see that, as you can see on screen, we are right where we started. And after we make those initial configurations, we will be on our Windows desktop. And that is it. So we are at the end of this review, and I hope that you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I could answer most of the questions that you had regarding the Z64 Windows 8.1 version. If I did not, just write down below in the comment section and I will get back to you as fast as I can and as best as I can, as usually on my channel. Now, I would like to share with you the things that I did like the best and the things that I did like the less, as usual on my videos. And starting with the things that I did like the less, there are none. That's right, I love everything about this mini computer here with the Windows 8.1 version. Now, for what it stands for is just great. As you saw on the video, everything worked out of the box. If you are looking for a machine for productivity, and when I mean productivity, I'm talking about office productivity like Word, Excel, even Photoshop that we tried, it just worked great. Now, don't be in expectation to work on a project in Photoshop with 100 layers and a lot of filters, because that's not the machine intended. But for those simple projects, this is a machine that works great. So if you need email, internet browsing, videos, as you saw on YouTube, that's just flawless, no problems there. Now, we also tested some games, and games for mobile platforms as Asphalt 8 and things like that. It's not a surprise, it works just flawless, so no problems at all for those that are looking for casual gaming. And on the entertainment side of things, it worked great, even better than I was expecting. Now, for KODI, I wasn't expecting nothing else. This is just great. But on Plex, I was a bit on the doubt how would this device work, especially on the server side of things, which, as you know, for those that use Plex, is more demanding on the CPU. And as you saw, it just worked flawless. For this device, it just treated Plex as it was something, hey, this is nothing for me. As you saw on the CPU graph, it treated Plex. So this is one thing that I would advise, besides being a totally computer able to put on an office for productivity, also as a Plex server, this is a really nice suggestion. If you have, for example, a big drive that you connected to this device and you want to stream it to your Plex devices, as you know, you can use Plex on mobile devices and computers and even on smart TVs. Hopefully your smart TV is smarter than mine, so you can use this as a great Plex server. And I was really impressed that he treated Plex as a really simple application, which is not. Now, you can also ask me one thing, which is, hey Robert, aren't you disappointed that it's not able to play desktop gaming? I'm not. I have to be honest with you, I was not expecting that, just because this has an integrated GPU, which is the Intel HD graphics. Now, if you are looking for a machine for games, this is not it, and not any machine that has Intel HD graphics integrated cards. You have several levels of integrated graphics, and for example, on my i7-4770K, I have the Intel HD 4600. Even that, it's a poor experience on games. A bit better than this one, but if you are serious about gaming, then just get a machine for games. For everything else, guys, this works just great. And one more thing, why I'm not disappointed on gaming is because this is not advertised and the specs are not to be intended a gaming machine on desktop high-end games. So that's why I'm so happy with this device. For everything else, worked really great, especially on all the tests that we made. And that is it. So I'm not gonna take you any longer. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, thumbs up, and I'll see you on the next one.